Jan back at it again with another nerdy bookish video. Welcome to Vlogmas day 18, 19, or 20, something around there. This is gonna be my most surprising books of 2022. Alright, hello. This is my first time filming in days. This is my first time doing anything YouTube related in days. It's been the struggle bus out here, just like everybody else I've been hearing. If you're not on the struggle bus, I admire you, and I hope you stay off the struggle bus. As usual, Vlogmas didn't go as planned. Okay, it is currently the 21st, and I am, I believe, 3 or 4 days behind. So now the new goal is still trying to hit a total of 25 videos by the end of the month. I can only achieve that if I upload today, but it's already like 10:30. So I decided to film instead to feel some sort of accomplishment in my life. I'll probably upload 2 videos in a day, or like count some sort of sprints or something for a Vlogmas day, or just settle with 24 videos, or just settle for 20. Who knows? It's been rough. But I am caffeinated at 10 p.m. This is a wine glass with cold brew in it. It's from this local bookstore. I got it for free on Indie Bookstore Day. Why did I say Indie? I was about to say indiebookstoreday.com. Use my code. No, but so I'm caffeinated. My endorphins are endorphining because I did go to the gym, and I've been feeling all right today compared to the rest of the month. No, this past week has been pretty rough. I've been just mentally breaking down. Today I actually had like 2 breakdowns, but that's okay because we've moved past that. And now I have coffee in me, and I have books to talk about, and my spooky Christmas tree. So let's just get on into it. I have 10. By most surprising, I mean like books that I just like randomly picked up, didn't have any expectations or too high of expectations at all, or I've heard negative things and I don't think I'm gonna like it, but like people have convinced me to read it, etc., right? And like it turned out being a 5-star read. I think all of these have been 5 stars actually. I will have my most disappointing books of the year coming out soon. Definitely before the end of the year. I'm just waiting for the right amount of rage in me to film that video. I already have an outfit for it. I have this crew neck that says disappointed. I'm so excited to wear it for this video because I've had it for years, but I never wore it. But anyway, I digress. That will be coming soon. That's all I wanted to say. That list has 22 books on it though. This only has 10. Been quite a disappointing year. I'll probably say this whole spiel again in that video, so we're just gonna start off with number 1 is These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. I went into this knowing that it was very tropey. It has a love triangle. It's your classic YA fantasy romance where there are fae, there's a love triangle like I said, there's, you know, this mission. It's just basically The Cruel Prince meets ACOTAR is what I heard it pitched as. And I was like, okay, am I gonna like this? Probably not. Oh, I gotta put the note in it. This was gifted to me by Hannah from Hannah's Recent Read. She got it for me for my birthday. This is one of the few books that we agree on at being a 5-star book. I picked it up from the library late last year, and then I finished it as my first book of the year for 2022. Obviously, it ended up being 5 stars, and it was my first book of the year, and I was like, I'm sorry, but this is gonna be on my top 10 of 2022. And it was until I read the sequel, which, spoiler alert, that one kicked this one off on that list. But this one was still 5 stars. I was wildly surprised by how much I loved this. I was swooning over the characters. I was invested in all the betrayals in this book. I was heartbroken, screaming. It's a lot, and it is really basic with the tropes and everything. If you absolutely despise love triangles, I would steer you away from this book because it is very prominent. I don't mind love triangles as long as it's done well, and I believe this was done very, very well. This is a duology that I will reread, so I'm really glad Hannah got me the physical copy because, like I said, I read it from the library because I didn't think I would like it this much. I would highly recommend this, especially if you're a fan of The Cruel Prince and ACOTAR. You will see a lot of similarities, and at first it'll be kind of annoying, but then you're like,
whoa, I really love these characters and I want to know what happens next.
That's number 1. Number 2, so I only have 3 physical copies of these because, like I said, I wasn't expecting to love them, so I wasn't gonna purchase them. So a lot of these are library books. So number 2, this isn't in any order, by the way. It's just on this sticky note in this order. But number 2, I have Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. So she's the author of The Wife Upstairs. Reckless Girls, I was not interested in when it was a book of the month pick, when it was getting all the hype, because it's just this ugly ass summery vibe type of cover, very very tropical, and then the eye in girls looks like a little something something, if you know what I mean. And it's funny because I wasn't the only one who noticed that, because my friends Deja and Cami also noticed that, and I was like, wait, I thought the same thing. I was not interested in this whatsoever just by the cover. I read this I think in November, and I was like, wow, I miss the first time I did Winter Ween, and it was just so wholesome, and it was like when I was first like really getting very serious about booktube and like finding my niche in the booktube community and everything. And I was like, it was just such simple days. And I remember reading The Wife Upstairs during Winter Ween. Winter Ween is a readathon hosted by Gabby from Gabby Reads and Olivia from Olivia Reads a Latte, and they host one every season. I read The Wife Upstairs and I was like, I need those vibes again. I just need a channel. So how do I channel those vibes? And so I picked up a book by the same author. It was an audiobook on Libby, and if you know me, you know I'm not a huge fan of audiobooks. I use audiobooks as a pastime, a way to get from point A to point B, to feel accomplished while I'm doing other things, so I'm like multitasking. It's not really like a, wow, I'm so obsessed with this book, I'm gonna listen to the audiobook. Okay, so I usually pick books that I know are gonna be mediocre for me, or that I think are gonna be mediocre, or I listen to nonfiction on audio, especially memoirs. I don't think I've ever read a memoir that wasn't narrated by the author themselves, but yeah, I love hearing the author's voice tell their own story and everything. So yeah, that's my spiel on audiobooks. But so I grabbed Reckless Girls, and I loved this audiobook. I don't know what it was about it, but I was driving and I was literally gripping the steering wheel, and I was like, oh, like cringing at all these parts, because there was this scene where one of the girls gets injured and it was just so gruesome to listen to. It was just so terrifying, and I loved it. And I loved the ending. The epilogue was cool. I liked the messiness. It was a very vanilla thriller, not gonna lie, but the fact, oh wait, I think this is the only 4-star on here actually. I think I gave this one 4 stars. But the fact that it had that like nostalgic feeling for me, it was just so shocking to me, because it was set in the summer, it was set on a boat, it was set on this like cruise ship. Was it a cruise ship? No, it wasn't a cruise ship. It was just like a big boat, like this vacation, tropical vacation situation. And I was just like, why do I like this so much? And like I said, it's a vanilla thriller, like nothing too special about the writing. The plot twists weren't like crazy, but I was just still like at some of the parts, you know? And it was just like messy drama, which I think is like my new favorite thing in thrillers. The next book I want to talk about is A Very Merry Bromance by Lyssa Kay Adams. So this book made me buy the first 4 in the series, because I realized, I mean, I already knew I love this series, but this just solidified it for me. And then I couldn't just buy the 5th book, I had to buy all 4 of them, okay? And I found them pretty cheap on Pango. I still need to get this one physically. This is shocking. This was so surprising to me, because it's a Christmas romance, and I am not one to enjoy Christmas romances or even pick one up or feel gravitated in any way, shape, or form to Christmas romances, especially covers like this. Like, if it weren't for this series, I would not have picked this book up. I keep saying that every time I talk about this book. Also, I tried to keep my top 10 of 2022 off of here, so that you're not hearing about the same books more than once, even though you are, because I vlogged about most, if not all of these books. You know what I mean. This was so good. I already talked about this in the Christmas songbook tag, but basically there's this country singer and this immigration attorney. She's the grump who hates Christmas, but for very specific reasons, okay? She doesn't just hate it to hate it. She has like familial trauma and everything, so trigger warnings for that. There's definitely familial abuse in this book on page. And then the country singer loves Christmas. He's the sunshine in the book, and it's like almost like a second chance thing, but the first time was like just a fling at their friend's wedding, and then their romance is just so good, and the steam in this book is so good, and everything's so wholesome. And of course, you know, it's around Christmas time and there's all this like family drama. It's just so good. And it has discussions about immigration, because you know that's her occupation. I also didn't think I would like this one as much because of the country singer thing, because I'm not usually a fan of books that revolve around music, but this one did it very tastefully. I loved it so much. Number 4 on this list is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This one was quite the surprise. I just picked this up randomly because it was Sid from Sid Bookworm Farm's Patreon book club pick. It was also a Literally Dead book club pick at one point, Books and Lala's book club. And I was just like, okay, everyone's talking about this book with this freaking rabbit on the cover. Like, let me just pick it up. It's super short. It's a novella. What was it? Was it my October book club pick was Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. So I was like, let me pick something up by this author, you know, get a feel for their writing, because it's a little too early to read my book club book because I wouldn't remember it. So I picked this up. I finished it on Halloween and it was perfect. So I read The Fall of the House of Usher the night before and then I went straight into this. I would highly recommend reading the original source material first. It goes by really quickly, but you'll understand What Moves the Dead a lot better and you'd appreciate it more for what it is. This is a horror novella. I wouldn't even call it a retelling. I would call it like an expansion of the short story The Fall of the House of Usher. All the characters have the same names for the most part, I think, and it's just like 10 times more descriptive, 10 times creepier. And The Fall of the House of Usher was pretty creepy in and of itself, but you know, it's classic writing. It doesn't hit as hard, at least for me. But this one, I was freaked the fuck out. I didn't want to read it at night. This was a runner-up for my top 10 of 2022, but didn't quite make it. After that book, I want to read everything T. Kingfisher writes. Nettle and Bone was a different story, but like, we're not gonna talk about it. The next book I want to talk about is Convenience Store Woman. This is a short little book that I do want to own because I read it via audio. It was like a 3-hour audiobook. Like I said, I pick it up to pass time, right? So it was like a slow day at work and I wanted to listen to a book real quick. So this was it. And I was just so shocked that I was so like invested in the day-to-day of this character's life. So it's this neurodivergent woman who struggles with like finding things she's good at. So then she like talks about her childhood and like her behavioral problems and everything. And she does it in a lighthearted, like humorous way that makes it like entertaining to read, you know? It's not just like depressing. Follow her as she grows up and then she gets this job at this convenience store and she realizes she's really good at it and she's excelling in all the, you know, components of being an employee at this convenience store. And so she makes it her entire life. She revolves everything around this convenience store and she just shines, right? So then it becomes the question of who is she without the convenience store? And it's just like so like existential and short and quirky, and it was 5 stars. It was so good. I will reread this because I loved the character. The audiobook was so good. The narration had so much to it. It enhanced the reading experience for me, and that is rare for an audiobook. A lot of these are audiobooks or ebooks because, like I said, not ones I pick up because they're like highly anticipated or anything. Next book I actually have physically, and I got it from Book of the Month. I don't think I got it the month it came out though because I was not interested because it was so hyped. You might have heard of it. The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I 5-starred this. But upon further reflection and seeing more reviews about it, I can see why people hate it. I can. But at the time while reading it, I was all in, 100%. Not so interested in her next book, Love on the Brain, but I did get it from Book of the month it came out. This I got as an add-on when the hype died down a tiny bit. It was pitched as a Kylo Ren retelling, and I'm not a Star Wars girly, so I was just like, why am I interested? And it's probably like kind of sciencey. I don't really care. Like, what is this cover? I hate this cover, to be honest. I hate all of Ali Hazelwood's covers. I also read one of her novellas, Below Zero. It was okay. I read that on audio, but anyway, this. I know everyone who reads like smut and shit are like, this is not a steamy scene, but the steam did something for me in this book. I understand that Ali Hazelwood's writing is mediocre at best. She's notorious for the whole like praising a man for having large body parts and just like arms and legs and shit, and it's like, we get it, he's tall. But I love this book. What convinced me to read this book was the fact that Jessie from Bow Ties and Book loved this book as well, and it's a hetero romance. So I was like, okay, it must be good. There must be something there, right? The next book I want to talk about is another audiobook that I was very shocked by how much I liked. The Island by Adrienne McKenty. This is the author of The Chain, which I also 5-starred when I read it last year in February. But The Island is available on audio, so I was just like, okay, I hate the cover, don't want it on my shelves, let me just try the audiobook. It was so fucking good. It had like gunshots and like wind blowing and just a bunch of sound effects that really enhanced the audiobook experience. Usually those sound effects don't do it for me, but the gunshots sometimes really made me jump. And I was like, who am I? This is about this family who gets stuck and held hostage on this Australian island, and this narrator does Australian accents, and I think there was another person who had a different accent. They just did accents really well. It kept the audiobook entertaining. I know I wouldn't have enjoyed this as much if I read it physically. I might have, because I know the chapters were probably short, but the audiobook had me, again, gripping my steering wheel, cringing, screaming, crying, throwing up. Okay, moving on to number 8, which is Almond. I read this on my Kindle. I I was shocked by this because I wasn't really into the cover, and the only reason I picked it up was because it was on KU and it was short. People were reading it because that dude from BTS loved it. I don't know, I'm not a K-pop girly either, but I picked it up nonetheless. This was it. I wasn't expecting to love this as much. This is another like day-to-day neurodivergent character who talks about like all the behavioral situations that he went through. It got intense really quickly because there was something that happened to his family, okay? His thing is he can't feel emotion. So this like tragic thing happened and everyone was so just like confused that he wasn't, you know, crying, showing any type of emotion. He was just so stoic about everything. Then he had friends who would test it and be like, okay, what if I do this? What if I do that? Why aren't you crying, you know? It really like made him feel like an outcast, and it talked about, and it was very sad, okay? And it hit me, and I didn't think it would do that for me. But alas, it did, and I gave this book 5 stars, and it went by so quickly. I read it in like maybe 2 sittings on my Kindle. It definitely upped my love for reading on my Kindle. All right, we're almost done. 2 more. The next one I do have physically, Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. Christina Lauren, I read The Unhoneymooners, and I gave that one 3 stars. I was highly disappointed. I was like, why is this so hyped? And then I heard about this from Cami and my friend Renee from Reading with Renee, and they both were like, okay, try this one because this is a second chance romance and I guarantee you will cry. And cry I did, my friends. Cry I fucking did. This was 5 stars. Absolutely loved it. Look at all these tabs. Look at all those chickens. But this was gifted to me by Renee as well as Kat from BookTube Beginnings. I actually got 2 copies for my birthday because Amazon wishlist was being wacko. This is a second chance romance about these childhood friends. There was a situation, you don't find out why they had a falling out for years until later on in the book. You piece it together throughout the story, and there are all these like sad moments but also cute moments when they talk about like words. There's this thing about words that they had with each other, and it's like, what's your favorite word today or something like that, and it was just so fucking cute. So fucking cute. The last couple pages I was trying so hard not to just start sobbing. It was just so perfect. I know this is compared a lot to Every Summer After, which I did get recently, but I'm giving myself time to read that one so it's not too close to this one because I know they're super similar. They're pretty much the same plot, just a different reason for the falling out. I think people liked the resolution for that one better, which I'm not surprised because this one was kind of quick, kind of like really type of thing, but I ate it up. And the last book I want to talk about, I also read this on my Kindle. It is Layla by Colleen Hoover. Like what? Okay, I am one of those people who are very annoyed by seeing Colleen Hoover's name and ugly ass book covers everywhere I go, okay? I read Ugly Love, that was the first Colleen Hoover, and then I was like, okay, let me try her little like thrillery books. That isn't Verity because I own Verity physically and I wanted to read something on my Kindle. So I got Layla and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. The twist was so good, I was so shook. And I was like, wow, this is kind of cute too at the same time. I will be reading Verity in 2023. I'm manifesting. Sav from Riveting Reads got me Verity last year, and I just have to just do it. I don't know why I keep putting it off. I think it's because of the hype as well, but Layla was so good. The romance was good. It was a tasteful romance. And then the twist, I don't know why I was so shook, but I sure as hell was. It was wild. Verity is the only other Colleen Hoover book I will read. I am not interested in It Ends With Us and Reminders of Him and November 9 and all her other shit. Her book covers are so fucking ugly. Ugly Love was very disappointing too. I just sold that actually. There you have it, my 10 most surprising. Can't wait to film my 22 most disappointing. So stay tuned for that. I'm so glad to be filming again today, even though it's like past my bedtime, but it's fine. If you made it to the end of this video, put the surprised emoji in the comments down below. Fitting, huh? Thank you so much for watching. Hope y'all had a great day. Stay safe, stay positive, and stay festive always, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye!